What's going on, guys? It's your boy Worthy Prince coming at ya with another Lords Mobile video, and today, guys, I'm going to be giving you a full tutorial on how to duel your gear in Lords Mobile from the beginning all the way to the end game. So if you're looking for some information on how to duel your gear, you've come to the right place. Before we get started, don't forget to smash a like button on this video and share with your friends that also may need to know how to duel their gear. We're going to start off with just talking roughly what about duels, what are they, where are they, how do you use them, X, Y, and Z. As you know, in each piece of gear you will have duel slots, and you click on the inlay and then you can choose which duels you'd like to put into your gear. Okay, and you can check at any time what duels you have by going into your cabinet, clicking on duel fusion on the right, and here you can look at all the different duels you have. Now, some of these duels are very useful, others not quite so much. So how exactly should you be looking to duel your gear from the get-go when you start a brand new account? Well, my advice would be to don't put anything in your gear unless it's a blue. If you get a blue duel, then put that duel in. If it's gray or green, just keep trying to build it up until it eventually gets to blue. Once your whole gear set is full of blue duels, you can then start changing them out one by one as you get enough to make purples, and then same thing towards the golds as well. But I wouldn't bother putting anything in your gear unless it's a blue to start with. Now, it might be that you might get lucky and you might grab yourself a gold infantry attack duel, for example, or a range duel or something really cool like that. And you might think, oh, I've got a gold duel, let me put it in my gear. That's actually a bad thing to do initially when you're first starting off. Don't just put that single gold duel into your gear set, because as you can see, you get 20% attack from that gold duel. But if you were to break it down, so divide that gold duel into 4, because one gold duel makes 4 purples, you can see we're getting 12% infantry attack here. So if you put 4 of those in, that's going to be 48% stats compared to 20% stats. So initially you're going to want to break down that gold into 4 purples. Likewise, if you get a purple infantry attack duel, you're going to want to break it down into blues, until such point as every piece of gear in your set is that color. Then you can start moving them up and switching them into higher grades one by one as you get more duels, okay? But that's how you would generally start socketing your duels as far as the grades and how you would break down the duels. I wanted to make sure I made a point of that right at the start here. So now you know how about breaking down duels and getting the most out of them. What duels should you actually use? Well, it depends on the set, of course. If you're just starting off your first account in Lords Mobile, you're building it up, you're going to be building 4 sets of gear normally. First of all, and most importantly, your mix set, which you're going to be wearing to defend your castle from attackers. And then eventually you may want to branch out into a specialized infantry, range, and cavalry set. So what exactly does that look like? Well, this is the mix set right here. And this is what you're going to want to go for initially. You're going to want to go for one of each of the attack duels. Don't put monster duels in your mix set, and definitely don't put defense duels in there. No, you're going to want to stick to the standard attack ones, just like I've done here with these pieces of gear. You can see we have 1 cavalry attack, 1 infantry attack, and 1 range attack duel. And again, you start off at blue maybe, and you gradually over time build up through to purple, and then essentially all the way to gold like I have here. Trust me, this takes a lot of time to do this. One of the things that might help you if you're a lower spender or even free to play is making sure you save your guild coins. You can see I've been saving my guild coins here for quite some time. So I've got 91.4 million guild coins. But the point is, if you get a lot of them, you can then get a bunch of these. You can see I can get 923 duel chests, which is an insane amount. Obviously, I don't need those, but I'm just letting you know, save your guild coins for the duel chests, okay? I go into too many accounts where I see guild coins being used. Duel chests is what you should be using them for, all right? So again, the attack duels is what you're looking for as far as your mix set goes, 1 of each. And these pieces of gear you can see here have been chosen for a reason. A lot of these gear pieces here have at least more than 1 attack type, or they've got army HP on them. Army HP is extremely important for your mix set. So always make sure you're trying to use pieces of gear that have that, okay? But you can see every piece has 1 of each attack duel. And when I'm defending my castle, this is the set I will use, the one that's got the 3 different attack duels in each piece of gear. Now, if we're going over to an infantry set, the dueling does change, but you can see here, some of the pieces I used for my mix set are also in my infantry set. So as a rally lead, if I wanted to go ahead and do an infantry blast, I would have to start using my gems to reduel some of these gear pieces to make it so I get more infantry stats. But if you're doing an infantry blast, this is what you should be looking for. So you can see here, we have the infantry attack duel, the terror duel, which is going to give us infantry attack and infantry defense, but it's the attack we use the terror duel for. And then the final duel is a Trojan duel because we want the infantry max HP. And I mean, the travel speed is also nice too, but it's the HP we get on the third duel for the infantry blast. So that right there is the setup for an infantry attack. And you want to make sure that all your pieces of gear look identical to that before you launch that rally or that solo attack. Which means, yes, we are going to have to use a bunch of our gems to reduel things like the Beast Helm by taking out the cavalry duel and the range attack duel to put in a new terror duel and a new Trojan duel. And again, this is why a lot of rally leads go for a lot of gems in the early stage of the game, because you have to constantly be switching out for different blasts, for mix, and all that kind of stuff. So what I used to do when I was running my rally lead account, when it was looking more like this, is I used to put myself in an infantry blast and I would just stay there for a week and say, guys, I'm the infantry lead this week, I'm not redueling, and I'd literally stay infantry. Like go into KVK and I'd make a decision what I'm going to lead with in that KVK. Okay, this KVK I'm going to do infantry. Okay, it all gets redueled into infantry. And away I go. I don't change it at all. I just do inf for that KVK. I train extra infantry to make sure I've got enough. And that way I save on my gems rather than constantly having to reduel every day with different blasts. Otherwise, you're going to burn through your gems big time super quickly. But that's how the infantry should look. I'm not going to reduel it fully now, but those are the duels you need for your infantry blast, okay? Now we're going to move on to the range. Oh, sorry, the cavalry. We'll do the cavalry now. Let's go to cav. And here's the cav, and this is what you're looking for on the cavalry. These are your duels. You want a cavalry attack duel for that 20% or whatever grade you have, blue or purple, 6% or 12%. You're then going to go for a saber duel on your second one. Again, this is the one that gives you the cavalry max HP. So you're going to take a saber duel on number 2. And number 3, you're going to take a gargantua duel. Pretty difficult to get these to gold. It takes time to do it. But of course, this is for the cavalry attack 10%. And those are the 3 duels you're looking for your cavalry blast, okay? And again, you can see I've got pieces of gear here like the Beast Helm, the Frostwing, and the Firewall plate that I'm currently using in my mix that I also have currently in my cav set. And you can see I'd have to change that. One of the things a lot of people do with the cav is they build something like the Cudgel. After I've done the Garg Belt to Mythic, the next thing would be to build this. And this is nice because not only is it a standalone cavalry piece that I would use for cavalry, I can also set this up with a cavalry attack. I can set it up with a gargantua duel. And I can also set it up with a saber duel. So I can have this perfectly set for cavalry. And that way I can keep the Frostwing sword as my mix main hand with inf, range, and cav. And keep this specifically for cavalry. And then that way it saves me having to reduel a piece of gear and it gives me more flexibility. So yeah, building other pieces of gear which are dedicated to that specific druid type does help you out a little bit down the line, so you don't have to keep redueling, okay? But that's something a little bit further on. In the early stages, you just have to switch the duels if you want to do something different. But that's how the cavalry looks, and if we go and take a look at the range, you can see here, this is what you're looking for in the range. So I don't know if I've got a 3 gold duel set up, I don't, but that's what you want. You're starting off with new players, you're going to go for a range attack duel, you're going to go for a worm duel because you've got the range attack of 10% on there. And you're going to go ahead and do a Grim Duel. Grim Duel is going to be the one that gives you the HP boost. Of course, it's a bit higher at gold grade, but there you go. That is the 3 duels setup for the range. So you now know what duels you're supposed to put into each of your pieces for range. You know about the Cav, the Inf, and you know now that when you start off, you want to go for 3 different attack duels for your mix set. What happens when you've been playing Lords Mobile for a while now and you've been building up your gear, you've got various different options available to you? Like, how does the dueling change the further you get into Lords Mobile? Well, for that demonstration, we need to jump onto AK Bear's account. The main thing that changes as you get further into Lords Mobile is the mix set duels. Your blasts are always going to be the same. You're always going to have those 3 duel types on your blasts for the most part, with some possible will change a little bit down the line, but the mix set is where things change a lot. You can see here that this is a champion mix set, which is a lot different to what we were just looking at. And the main thing that changes here is the champion jewels. What you find is as you get a bit further into the game, you tend to play around with comps a lot more. And you can see this mix set here is what you would use for, say, a 4-2-4 setup style comp. The range is slightly lower, hence why we take the range jewels out. And predominantly the stats are pushed into infantry and cavalry. But the most important thing here is the introduction of the champion jewel, because at 15% army max HP, this is key. And having all this extra army HP that we're getting from this set now because of all the gold champ jewels is going to allow you to hold and defend and attack a lot more effectively by having the champion jewel in there. You're more secure on your base defenses as well. So yes, the champion jewel is definitely the best in slot. And of course, the other two jewels, you'll then go with attack jewels. Like I said, for this 4-2-4 style setup, you're going to have infantry and cavalry jewels in there to maximize those troops because they're the main troops in the comp, like a 947, 424, 866. Generally speaking, it's going to be infantry and cavalry that's going to be the predominant troop type. So that's the only thing that really changes going forward. Obviously, doing champ jewels is not easy. Pretty much got to be pay to play to be able to do this part of it, but this is more for the people that are doing that kind of thing. This is the change in the mix set as you get further into Lords Mobile. As far as the blasts go, everything pretty much stays the same. There is some caveats that, you know, you can change. For example, if we take a look at the Eerie Lantern here, you can see the IC Assault Jewels. So the Assault Jewels was something new that was added to Lords Mobile. And when I say new, it's quite a while ago, but more of an updated jewel that you can bring into a blast. What you find is with a mix set, the HP is key, right? You want to survivability to hold on that fort. With blasts, I mean, it's all about attack. You want to just hit them as hard as possible and do as much damage as possible. And so that's why a lot of people like Bear and even myself take out some of the HP that we would normally have in the Eerie Lantern. You'd normally have the Trojan jewel giving you that extra HP. The Trojan jewel's been removed for an IC Assault jewel, which is going to give us another 10% infantry attack to get us a bit more damage out of it, which is kind of nice, right? And he's done that on a couple of pieces. You can see the book here has also had the IC Assault jewel put in. So this is something you can do. Also, if you do participate in events, you might be lucky enough to be able to build yourself a Royal Infantry jewel, which is one of the Baron jewels you can get for participating with the points and stuff. You get it for getting kills in Baron. Very nice jewel, giving you infantry attack and infantry HP. So yeah, you get the best of both worlds with the Baron jewels. And of course, there's even better jewels than that, the ones which you get for winning Baron, which is the actual full-on Baron jewel you get, which is 2 lots of attack. So yeah, there are other things you can add in later, but the Baron jewels aren't really going to apply to the majority of you. And I think if you're at that stage of the game where you're getting Baron jewels, you pretty much know what you're doing with dueling anyway. Well, I would at least hope so. So there isn't really no need to go into that with too much depth. The other thing as well, just a worthwhile mention that is also another jewel that you can look at when it comes to your mix set, is the jewel we can see here in the Faith. If you notice, there's a very weird looking shaped red jewel at the beginning there. This is called the Army Assault jewel, and this one gives you army attack. This is a very sought after jewel because with army attack, it applies to your infantry, your cavalry, and your range. So this essentially is 30% extra attack stats, which is kind of huge. So you definitely want to be using this if you manage to get one of these. I would even argue that you could probably use a purple one. If you have a purple one, it's pretty good. If you drop a gold Army Assault jewel, I'd be breaking that down into 4 purples and putting that straight into my gear, because that would be a really good one to add. But yes, the Army Assault jewel you will put into your gear. Just take one of your attack jewels out. In this case, Bear's taken out the infantry jewel. We're still getting 10% infantry, but we're obviously getting the 10% range and cav as well. So it's really nice. And in the mix set, that works out pretty well. So yeah, that is a jewel you're going to want to keep your eyes open for if you're lucky enough to get one. And sometimes they pop up in events, but for the most part, they come into the Assault jewel chest, which is horrible to get them out of because it's full of monster jewels as well. So yeah, not the easiest chest to get it out of, but some of you might be lucky and get that. And I want to make you aware that it's definitely one you should prioritize if you do get it. Okay. So I think this is enough for the moment. It gives you a good rundown. You know what duels you should be using on Inf Range and Cav. You know what duels you should be using in the early game on your mix set. And you now know what duels you should be switching out for as you progress to the later stages of the game as well. If you've got any further questions about dueling, then by all means put them down into the comments below. And hopefully this video helps many of you out, guys. If it did, don't forget to smash the like button, share with your friends, and I'll catch you in the next one. But until then, you know how this next bit's gonna go. Stay safe, everyone, and of course, peace out.